You're listening to the Common Descent Podcast.
And welcome to Cute E.
Hello, Will.
Pikmin, David.
And hello, everybody. And welcome to Cute E. Cute E is a bonus episode that we do at the end of Spook-E season every year, where we choose, instead of monsters from myth and popular fiction, adorable things from myth and popular fiction, and then speculate how that creature or something like it might evolve in the real world using the toolkit of real-world biology. This year's theme has been Monsters of Nintendo. All throughout October, we evolved monstrous creatures from across the Nintendo franchises: piranha plants, octoroks, kremlings, and metroids. Now, to wrap the whole thing up, we're picking a cute group. This will be the last episode of Spooky season this year, but on November 8th, on our YouTube channel, we will have a Spooky live stream where anyone can join us to chit-chat about our speculative evolution endeavors. This year's episode of Cute E is Pikmin. Pikmin chosen partially because they are extremely adorable and because they're a big deal Nintendo IP, but also I wanted to make sure we picked at least one thing that is relatively recent.
Yes.
All the others ended up being really classic Nintendo stuff, and Pikmin is early 2000s, so it's not like it's brand new, but it gets us a little bit closer to now. Pikmin are these days very famously little plant-like creatures that work together in a big group and navigate a planet under the leadership of Captain Olimar or other leaders. As with the previous episodes, what we're going to do is do a dive through the lore of Pikmin the creatures, and then after that, we will use what we've learned to figure out how we might evolve Pikmin.
Yeah.
I know we're not the first ones to tackle this question. When I was doing research on Pikmin, YouTube kept trying to recommend to me some video that I think was like a botanist exploring like how Pikmin might work. I did not watch that video intentionally so that we would not be copying any ideas.
Well, and I'm trying to have a similar mentality because we also touched on Pikmin when I guest starred on Lucas's podcast, Pixels of Life, where we talked about some of not just Pikmin, but some of the other organisms in the Pikmin games. So it wasn't just them, but we did touch on Pikmin.
So Pikmin first appear in the video game Pikmin back in 2001. The story of Pikmin is that Captain Olimar, who is a tiny spaceman, crashes onto a strange planet. His ship breaks apart, and in order to survive and get off the planet, he teams up with these little creatures called Pikmin. Using their help, he can navigate obstacles and avoid dangers and collect the pieces of his ship so that he can put it back together and then leave the planet and go back home. Pikmin are generally described in-game as plant-animal hybrid creatures. They are fairly humanoid with a gigantic head that generally has only a pair of big eyes on the front. They have a very slender body with slender limbs and a stalk on the top of their head that ends in a leaf or a flower. We'll get to more on that a little bit later. Overall, with their big head and narrow body and a stalk on top of their head, they are sort of carrot-shaped.
Yeah.
And that is actually where the name comes from in-game. Olimar names them after Pick carrots, which are a brand of carrots from his homeworld.
Gotcha.
Pikmin are also extremely small. They are officially described as being around 3 centimeters tall, including the stalk. So they would have fit great last year for Spooky as well. Captain Olimar himself, I believe, is like 2 centimeters tall. These are all very tiny creatures. In the original Pikmin game, there are 3 main types of Pikmin: red, yellow, and blue, who are easily distinguished by their color. We will get into more details on the differences later, but generally speaking, the Pikmin all grow in the ground. Olimar first encounters the little stalk sticking out of the ground, and he pulls it up, and a Pikmin pops out. Olimar describes them. So in the Pikmin franchise, one of the running themes is Olimar takes field notes. So there's all of these official descriptions of Olimar's scientific musings about Pikmin, and he describes them as ambulatory root structures.
Okay, interesting.
He hypothesizes that they originated as plant roots that developed muscles and brain-like features and these animal-like traits. In various parts of the text, there is some reference to cellulose being part of the body of Pikmin. There is also reference to bones. So we got both. Also, when Pikmin are electrocuted, that you can see their skeleton in classic cartoon fashion.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
In-game text says that Pikmin photosynthesize. They also drink nectar. Okay. And on the Pikmin webpage, there are some references to the way that Pikmin treat their prey. And it's not clear whether what they mean is like opponents, if they're attacking some creature, or if they actually are predators against something. That is unclear.
Ominous.
Pikmin naturally follow a leader. In the original Pikmin game, it's Olimar. There's other characters in later games. Pikmin will naturally congregate and follow the directions of that leader. Pikmin individually are extremely weak and vulnerable, but highly capable when working together as a large group. This is the core mechanic of Pikmin, is you gather up lots and lots of Pikmin, and you direct them to carry objects around, to clear obstacles, or to fight enemies. So the planet is full of all of these monstrous creatures, and Olimar can send Pikmin after them to attack them. And the way that Pikmin attack typically is they latch on and headbutt the enemy. Generally speaking, there can be up to 100 Pikmin active at a time.
Okay.
This varies a little bit, especially with some of the side games, but in the core franchise, that's usually the limit, is 100 Pikmin. And that's partially for like the game just performance, but also because it's puzzle games. And having a limit on the number of Pikmin you can have also limits what you can do with them. So you can't just throw 1,000 Pikmin at a solution.
Exactly. You have to use a certain number here and a certain number there and balance things out.
When Pikmin aren't active, they stay still, they turn pale, and their leaf or flower glows slightly. Oh. Which again is mostly a visual indicator for the player, but is an interesting thing if we're considering the biology of Pikmin. Pikmin communicate with high-pitched noises. They make little yells and little chatters. Will did a great impression at the beginning of this episode. At least in one game, Pikmin are shown singing, and they do seem to communicate with each other. I think, at least in Pikmin 2, when Pikmin are idle side by side, they will like chatter at each other. So there seems to be some sort of vocal communication going on.
Neat.
The planet that Pikmin are from, where Olimar first finds them and then returns in later games, is designated PNF 404. It is a very Earth-like planet. The geography, the weather, and everything is very Earth-like. But it is home to very strange plants and creatures. There's monsters. There's, of course, Pikmin themselves. Also present across PNF 404 are things like tin cans and cardboard boxes and buildings, all of which are big scale because everything's happening very tiny. Sometimes there are even brands visible, like Duracell batteries.
Yeah, I thought so.
Which has led to fan speculation that PNF 404 might be a dystopian future Earth.
Yes.
Although that, to my knowledge, has not ever been confirmed officially.
I sure hope, because that's fun.
That's the best. Yeah, that's the best explanation. That's the correct answer. Now, because Pikmin are sort of the core mechanic of this game, unlike many of our previous spooky creatures, we have tons of detailed information about the life cycle of Pikmin.
Yeah.
In the game, Pikmin are produced by structures called onions. Onions are the sort of plants and also kind of machines. They have this onion shape, sort of a oblong, like a tomato or an onion shape, with a flower on the top. When you first find them, they're just sitting out on the ground somewhere. When you activate them, 3 long legs come out and they stand up like a tripod.
Cool.
Once they're active, you can deliver materials to an onion. They take in pellets, which are just the objects in the world that exist to be delivered to onions. They also take in the bodies of defeated enemies. So you can carry like a bulb orb or whatever, and it'll get sucked up into the onion. And the pellets and the bodies allow the onion to produce seeds that it spits out that fall into the ground and sprout into little stalks that you can pluck, and you have a new Pikmin.
Cool.
There are different color onions for different Pikmin. So in the original game, you collect a red, a yellow, and a blue onion, and you feed them blue, yellow, or red pellets, and you get yellow, red, or blue Pikmin. In later games, as they introduce more Pikmin types, there are more onion types, although there's also, later games have a universal onion, where they all come together into one core onion.
Nice.
The onion is also the Pikmin's home at nighttime. So one of the core mechanics of this game is that you can only do stuff during the day. At night, it is too dangerous, and the monsters come out, and everything is bad. So at night, all the Pikmin go back into the onion. Olimar goes into his ship and takes off to hang out in orbit above the planet. And the onions also take off. And they retract their limbs, and they spin their little flowers, and they fly up into the air with Olimar's ship to spend the night safely high in the sky.
Oh.
Also in later games, they introduced candy pop buds, which are colorful flowers that you can throw a Pikmin in, and it will give you a Pikmin of a different color.
Huh.
So if you find a blue candy pop bud, you throw in a red Pikmin and it spits out a blue Pikmin. Whether the Pikmin are being physically converted into a different type of Pikmin or simply replaced is unclear.
It's very existential crisis. Are you the Pikmin I knew?
This is the Pikmin of Theseus. Also, I mentioned throwing the Pikmin in. That is one of the main ways that you deploy Pikmin. You can point and direct them where to go, but Olimar can also throw them, and that is how you can like throw them at enemies or throw them up onto a obstacle or something. This is also why in Super Smash Bros. Olimar throws Pikmin at people. That's what he does in the game.
Yes.
Once Pikmin are plucked, they go through stages of maturity. All Pikmin, when they are first grown, have a leaf at the end of their stalk, which then matures into a bud and then into a flower.
Oh.
As the Pikmin go through these higher levels, they become faster. So more mature Pikmin have a faster walking speed, which just makes them more efficient at doing all the things that they need to do.
Gotcha.
There are 2 ways, generally, to increase the maturity level of a Pikmin. One is just to leave the sprout in the ground. While if it just sits in the ground, it'll gradually develop into the next maturity levels. Or when a Pikmin is active, if they drink nectar, they instantly mature into flower stage.
Gotcha.
There are also 2 ways to decrease the maturity level of a Pikmin. Sometimes, if a Pikmin gets damaged in battle, it can drop a maturity level off the stalk. There's a chance for it to happen. Also, if you leave a Pikmin in the ground too long, it'll go leaf, then bud, then flower, and then disappear and be replaced with a new one that starts at leaf again.
Oh, okay.
And then, at the end of a Pikmin's life cycle, Pikmin can also die. In fact, if you play Pikmin, Pikmin die a lot because they can take damage from enemies, they can or obstacles, they can drown. Pikmin generally cannot swim. They can also be eaten by monsters. there's a lot. You lose a lot of Pikmin in Pikmin. That's
Yeah,
kind of the
one time I tried the tutorial, like the demo of the game, just all of mine got eaten by one of the big frog dudes, and I just watched them all get gobbled up, and then I didn't have any more Pikmin, and I didn't know what to do, so I just turned the game off.
Also, when Pikmin die, they release a little ghostly spirit that in the game is called a soul that floats up and then disappears. Now, Pikmin aren't the only ones. A lot of enemies in the Pikmin games also release a little soul when they die.
Gotcha.
All of this is the basics of Pikmin anatomy, function, life cycle, and all that. There are lots of different types of Pikmin. So, let us go through them. As I mentioned in the original Pikmin game, there are 3, red, yellow, and blue. They are all the same shape. They are all one solid color, red, yellow, or blue, and then they have a few specific differences in their appearance and their abilities. Red Pikmin have a long pointy nose on the face. These are described in games as a spine sticking out of the face. Red Pikmin have a higher attack power than other Pikmin types. This is explained to be due to their long spine, so when they headbutt enemies, they're doing extra damage.
I love it.
Red Pikmin are also immune to fire. Yellow Pikmin have big ears on the side of the head, which are described as lamellae. Yellow Pikmin can be thrown higher, and they can dig faster, both of which have sometimes been attributed to their ears, that they're like gliding or digging with them.
Yeah.
Yellow Pikmin. And also, one of the games describes that they can be thrown higher because they have lighter bones. So do with that what you will.
Huh.
Yellow Pikmin are also immune to electricity. And in fact, they can conduct electricity. You can line up yellow Pikmin to complete a circuit to solve certain puzzles. And when a yellow Pikmin is used to complete a circuit, their stalk blooms into a flower.
Oh, cool.
And blue Pikmin have little mouths on the front of their face, which are described as either being gills or there are gills inside of it.
Gotcha. Cool.
Blue Pikmin can explore underwater. Basically, all other Pikmin either drown in water or otherwise can't really explore in it. Blue Pikmin can go underwater and actually access underwater areas. In the first 2 Pikmin games, Blue Pikmin also had an attribute where if another Pikmin was drowning nearby, they would rush over and throw that Pikmin out of the water.
Oh, cute.
Pikmin 2 introduced 2 more types of Pikmin, white Pikmin and purple Pikmin. White Pikmin are smaller in size, have big red eyes. They are relatively weak in their attacks. They are able to locate buried objects, presumably with their big eyes. And they are immune to poison.
Okay.
Also, if a white Pikmin gets eaten by an enemy, they will do poison damage to that enemy.
Nice.
So they themselves are poisonous.
That's fun.
Purple Pikmin are big and bulky. They have kind of hairs on the top of their head that are described as feelers, and they are slow. Yes. Purple Pikmin are described as being 10 times heavier than a normal Pikmin, so they have a shorter throw distance. Olimar can't throw them as far, and in some games they are resistant to wind attacks.
That's cool.
Purple Pikmin also have 10 times the carrying capacity, so they can carry heavy objects, they can activate weight-based puzzles. They also deal high damage and can stun enemies when they hit them, so they are the big, strong Pikmin.
Cool.
And then in Pikmin 3, they also introduced winged Pikmin. Winged Pikmin are pink, they have big blue eyes, and a pair of insect-like wings that allow them to fly. They can move over obstacles and stuff. They are relatively weak, but they're good at fighting flying enemies. And in a couple of side games, including Super Smash Bros., winged Pikmin are able to carry Olimar through the air.
All right.
Interestingly, in one of the games, Olimar hypothesizes that ancient winged onions, so the onions that produce winged Pikmin, ancient winged onions somehow acquired DNA from flying creatures and thus
Oh.
incorporated it into the Pikmin themselves. Intriguing. And then one more relatively normal Pikmin to mention is a type of Pikmin that only appears in Pikmin 1 and only when Pikmin get infected by the spores of a mushroom-like enemy called a puffstool, they become mushroom Pikmin, which are dark purple, and instead of a leaf on the stalk, they have a mushroom cap on their stalk, and they are controlled by the puffstool.
That's what they turn on you.
Yes. So they become infected and they have a new leader now.
Oh, creepy. I like it.
Those are that only happens with encountering that enemy. You can't control mushroom Pikmin. So they're not one of the main types of Pikmin, but they do exist. Then there are a handful of Pikmin that fall under the category of Hermikmin. Hermikmin are parasitic Pikmin that live inside host objects. So Will is looking at the pictures that I provided, and now you can see it. This includes 2 of the playable Pikmin, Rock Pikmin and Ice Pikmin. Rock Pikmin, their body is a chunk of rock.
Mm-hmm.
The Pikmin, this is described in the game, the Pikmin's roots and organs are said to be inside the stone host.
Okay.
Rock Pikmin are resistant to certain physical damage. They can also be used to break crystals and enemy armor. They are tough and powerful. Ice Pikmin, the body is a chunk of ice. That again, the Pikmin is inside of this chunk of ice that it has made its body. Now, both Rock and Ice Pikmin still have external eyes visible.
Yes.
And limbs and a stalk coming off the top of their head.
Yeah, it looks like a Pikmin wearing a rock and wearing an ice costume.
Yes, which it kind of is, apparently.
Yeah.
Ice Pikmin are immune to freezing, and they can also be used to freeze enemies and freeze bodies of water so that you can walk across the water.
Cool.
And of course, they are susceptible to fire. And then there's another unusual, occasional one. In Pikmin 2, there is a type of Pikmin called a Bulbmin. A Bulbmin is a Bulborb, which is one of the frog-like enemies, that has been infected by a Pikmin. It is just a Bulborb with a Pikmin stalk sticking out of its back. These are active only in caves. They are immune to most hazards, but otherwise they act like normal Pikmin.
Interesting.
So you'll be walking around the cave with your bunch of Pikmin, and you'll have a couple of these infected Bulborb bodies also among your Pikmin.
That's fantastic.
It's pretty cool.
I would be obsessed with trying to get an all Bulbmin army. All Bulbmin run.
And then there are glow Pikmin. And this is where it gets weird.
Yeah, I expected.
Glow Pikmin, which are a playable type of Pikmin introduced in Pikmin 4 very recently. Glow Pikmin are relatively small. They are bright neon green. They glow. They have asymmetrical eyes. Also, when they have flowers, all the other Pikmin, the flower petals are rounded. Glow Pikmin petals are pointy.
Yeah.
Glow Pikmin do not have legs. Instead, the bottom of their body tapers off in a ghost-like tail. They float above the ground, although they do not fly the way that winged Pikmin do. And Glow Pikmin are immune to most hazards in the game. Glow Pikmin also do not come out of onions. They are produced in a structure called a luminol, which is a large dirt mound nest, which takes in glow pellets and produces glow Pikmin. Glow Pikmin automatically progress through maturity levels over time. They do not feed on nectar. Glow Pikmin are active mainly during the night or in caves. In the daytime, they revert to glow seeds.
Oh, okay.
To then be reformed the next day. Well, the next night. When glow Pikmin are newly formed or become separated from the leader, they teleport to the leader.
Oh.
And glow Pikmin have a special ability where a bunch of them can coalesce into a glowing ball called a glow mob that charges forward and stuns enemies.
Weird.
In-game text, Alamar questions whether glow Pikmin are truly Pikmin or even truly alive.
Yeah, like I was expecting just from the way they look that they were ghost Pikmin. That's way weirder than I was expecting.
Yeah.
Not as dark. When you said that they come from the luminol, I thought you were gonna have to feed Pikmin to it and get glow Pikmin.
No, that's what the candy pop buds are.
Yes, but at least then you're just getting a Pikmin for a Pikmin. The whereabouts and status of the original Pikmin is questionable. Here, it is very hard. It would be very hard to not interpret it as "let me sacrifice upon the glow altar" to get a glow Pikmin.
That is not the case. You just sacrifice glow pellets onto the glowing mound of dirt that produces ghostly teleporting neon Pikmin-like spirit creatures.
Yep.
This is the variety of Pikmin. This is the lore. There are a ton of different types of Pikmin. They all operate under the same basic principles of life cycle and behavior and anatomy. They work together in big groups to help Alamar or Alf or the dog. There's a dog that's a leader in, I think, Pikmin 4, to accomplish a whole bunch of tasks on their planet, which may or may not be a decrepit Earth. Now it is our job to figure out how we might evolve such creatures. Before we do, as always, magic disclaimer, the whole game here is using the biological toolkit to see how something might naturally evolve along these lines. So we cannot accomplish supernatural things because we're working with biology. So teleporting ghost Pikmin might not make it into our biological analysis.
So sorry, little glow friends.
So, Will, as always, our big two questions are: where on the Tree of Life might these creatures evolve, and what conditions might lead to our adorable little Pikmin monsters?
So the immediate, obvious challenges that I see ahead of us is, one, they are humanoid in shape, which is always, a interesting obstacle, an interesting puzzle, because that is not the shape of most animals.
Yep.
And they are part plant or are plants, depending on what interpretation is given for them. So there is some sort of botanical aspect to their anatomy.
Yeah, this is different. Like with piranha plants, it felt very intuitive that we were able to go, okay, but this could just be like an animal that's doing plant-like stuff.
Yeah.
The Pikmin are much more plant-y in their anatomy and their life cycle. So it's they're a little more tightly integrated.
Yes.
Now, a lot of what is true of Pikmin feels very insect.
Yes, absolutely.
Because they work in big groups. There's different forms of them that accomplish different tasks. They have a home that's kind of a nest. They, come out of the ground. There's a lot that is sort of bug-like about them.
Some insect is also very satisfying for they have very close relationships with plants. Like ants have really symbiotic relationships with a bunch of plants. They also have, many of them, close connection with fungi. So they are for growing things. And since they're, the mushroom Pikmin isn't one of your main ones, but it does exist, that connection is useful. There's also a ton of insects that look like plants, that are camouflaging themselves as, twigs and leaves and even flowers, like orchid mantis and stuff. So having either a relationship to plants or making themselves look like plants, very insect.
Yes. Now, one of my initial thoughts is there are insects that not only cultivate plants or fungi, but carry around symbionts on their bodies, right? Leafcutter ants, very famously, carry around fungicide bacteria that they use to keep, weeds out of their garden, basically. So there could be an angle here where you have these animals that essentially have plants growing on or within them that they're
Yeah,
carrying around or something.
yes, and that was my first thought before you went through the lore and I learned that how plant-like they are is just that it's like, well, it could be like leafcutter ants or harvester ants that are just carrying bits of plant. And so you typically never see a Pikmin without some sort of foliage that it's
Right.
carrying around and that it holds above its head as it marches it around back to the nest. But I do like the idea of them having a symbiotic relationship with a plant, which is not unreasonable. There's tons of animals that have, like algae growing on animals is super common.
Right.
Sloths have that. Turtles will be covered in algae, and both use it as a form of camouflage.
And we mentioned in our piranha plants episode that there are sea slugs that incorporate algae or algal components to photosynthesize. There aren't many examples that I can think of an animal-plant symbiosis where they are directly exchanging nutrients and such. Although that does exist with plants and fungi very effectively. There are tons of examples of animals with bacteria or fungi inside of them that they're using for digestion and stuff. And one of the things that is really nice about Pikmin is that they're extremely small.
Yes.
So I'm wondering is there some sort of lichen-esque relationship that we can develop? So lichens are algae and fungi in a little bundle. The fungus is supporting the algae and protecting it. The algae is providing nutrients for the fungus by photosynthesis. They exist together. They reproduce together. You do not find some of those fungi or algae without each other. So lichens function as a single unit. Is there an angle to be had on an animal-plant version of that?
And I feel like there definitely could be. One of the thoughts that came to mind for how you could get plant on animal for a little insect was the dirt ants that came up in the news not too long ago.
Oh, yeah.
That have clingy hairs to collect debris as camouflage. But if you had ants that specialize that further, and it's not just to allow things to cling to their body, but it acts as a growing structure, kind of the opposite of when plants make their what are they called?
The domatia.
The domatia make their little rooms for ants.
Yeah.
On their structures. It could be a similar thing of the ant has texture on its exoskeleton, and then the behavior of the ants, just like fungus farming ants, take fungus with them to start a new colony. And it could be one of those where it's like, yeah, you're not born with this plant, but you are given a sample of this lichen or this plant when you're a juvenile. So as you grow, it grows on your exoskeleton with you. And even if there's not a trading of nutrients, it could be very much like, well, when I drink, it gets watered. When I eat, it, when I go to the bathroom, it gets a little bit of my fertilizer.
So I think that one of the troubles with coming up with an animal-plant symbiotic relationship like that is that there isn't really much precedent for plants and animals directly exchanging nutrients.
Yes.
But there is precedent for plants and fungi and animals directly exchanging nutrients. So, and where I'm reaching for it. Could it be that these are animals with fungal symbionts and the fungi develop plant symbionts?
Yes,
and the fungus is acting as an intermediate where the fungus is drawing nutrient from the animal and passing it along to the plant, which allows the plant to survive even outside of the soil for periods of time. And the plant is photosynthesizing, and the fungus is drawing nutrients from that and sharing it as needed with. And in fact, there are systems in the real world with trees where trees will be connected via the roots through fungi, and that network will actually balance out where nutrients are going. So the
Yep.
trees that need more nutrients are getting them. So there could be a fungal intermediate that is balancing out where nutrients are going when, like at nighttime, the plant is getting more nutrients, and then during the day, the nutrients are flowing the other direction.
Yeah, I do like that. And it would make sense because getting nutrients from an insect is what a lot of plants in nutrient poor habitats do. Predatory carnivorous plants, pitcher plants and Venus flytraps and sundews, that's exactly what they do to get the nitrogen that isn't available in the soil, or other proteins and other minerals.
Yeah. Could this even be ancestrally a symbiosis between an insect and lichens?
Yes, yep.
And then the lichen is able to develop into broader fungi, but to support macroscopic plant structures.
Yes, exactly. That it just their algae grows, because there's plenty of algae that does create stalk-like or leaf-like or very typical land plant type structures. So not impossible at all, especially if it's being supported by the body of the fungus. Fungus famously can make very stalk-like structures.
Now, if there are flowers, that is a flowering plant feature.
Yes.
So it could be that certain flowering plants have adapted this lifestyle. There are carnivorous and parasitic flowering plants that could make the jump easily. It could also just be a flower-like structure that is developed by fungus or algae. That it could be that this is all part of the lichen, that the lichen's version of a mushroom-like structure is reaching up and it creates a photosynthetic or reproductive structure up at the top of the stalk.
Yes. So yeah, it could just be convergent and look similar. This is a random thought that I don't know that I want to go with, but throwing it out there. It could be like an attempt to mimic a flower and bait in pollinators, because if these are ants, they could be hunting those animals. And
true.
The Pikmin do seem to consume their defeated enemies when they bring it back to their nest.
That's true. Oh, another thought that I had with the nest thing, it could be that the individuals with this fully developed symbiotic relationship are the ones that leave the nest. And that if you could go inside the nest, you would see that's like where the garden of fungi is, and that's where the unadorned animals are. Okay, so we got to figure out what these animals are, because these are, I like our lichen relationship. I think that's very cool. I think that could even explain why you get some plant-like structures on the body, because listen, when fungus infects something, it doesn't do it half. This isn't like a patch of fungus on the top of the head. This is an infiltration. This is
you are part fungus now.
You are part fungus, and if the fungus is part plant, you are now part plant. I think ants make sense.
Yes.
Because so much of these features are very ant-like. The last time we had to develop tiny humanoid insects, we went with mantises.
Yes.
They could also be beetles.
Yes, they could be beetles. Termites would also be a suiting candidate, though we've already used termites.
We have already used termites.
Either beetles or ants. I feel like beetle gives you a nicer Pikmin shape.
Yeah. Well, and they can also have those like large limbs that some beetles have. Oh, they could even be like, okay, this is weird. Dung beetles stand on their front legs and lift up their back legs to move dung and stuff around.
Yes, they do.
What if the head of the Pikmin isn't the head? It's the abdomen, and it's got like eye spots or whatever on it, but they're actually walking on the front limbs and holding the abdomen up in the air, and that's where most of the fungal and plant activity is happening.
Yeah, I do like that. I do like, because then if they were all working together to move something, it would look like their little arms are coming up.
Yeah, and dung beetle is, I mean, they do carry and move stuff. Also, beetles are often colonial. There are
Yes.
fungus farming beetles.
Yep.
There aren't, I don't think there are properly eusocial beetles.
Yeah, like there are some that are at least very close to it. Like some of the fungus farming ones I think fall into that category, but like
Yeah, I think you might be
there
right.
are some that are, like you said, colonial, just not to the extreme that ants and termites and
Yes.
wasps are.
So, and that's nice because then it means that like the spines that are the nose or the ears those are just abdominal structures. Those are
Yeah.
exoskeletal projections.
And being beetles also gives us wings, which can give us
Yes.
the winged Pikmin.
Also, okay. Now, my initial thought for how do you get the different types of Pikmin is an ant-like system of you've got
Yes.
workers and soldiers and this and that. But they're also radically different colors and they're very different in their abilities and their features. Like some of them have gills. That's all very different.
Yes.
There are those ants where you can have multiple colonies that recognize each other, and if your fungi have managed to end up being the farming fungi for different colonies of these beetles, and then in much the same way that fungus can allow communication and recognition between different plants in the real world, could this have started out as several different species, but
Yep.
because they're using the same fungi, the fungi allows them to recognize each other, and they have come to function as one unified colony.
Yes, well, because it could be that it's changing their pheromones, changing their scent traits and their chemical
Yes.
expressions and stuff, so that they read each other as same colony, same group. You could even have something going on like kidnapper ants, where they go get larvae of other species, bring them in, give them a lichen, and that juvenile grows up as part of the colony.
You're one of us now.
Yes.
I really like this idea. Any combination of those things we just said, because
Mm-hmm.
it really drives home the point that is so true about lichens, which is that the fungi are symbiotic,
Yes.
but they're also parasitic.
Yes.
And the idea that all of this, the bringing together of the plants and the bugs and the different colonies, all of this absolutely unusual, bizarre behavior and lifestyle is just the fungus manipulating all of these other organisms to make it the most successful fungal colony.
Yep. As usual, our mycelium overlords at work.
Yes. That's actually really fun.
It's also a nice touch, since we have the bulbmin and the mushroom Pikmin that are mind controlled Pikmin. Like, we already know
Yes.
that this kind of reprogramming exists with Pikmin.
Yeah, that every now and then you get a different creature
Yes.
that has
Or
some, like there's a grasshopper and it's like, yeah,
exactly.
That happened to get just the right combination of the lichen and
Mhm.
stuff, and now it's one of us.
Or competing fungi that can hijack the system and go, hey, this colony you made, awesome. Mine now.
Yeah.
My colony now. And so you can have competing and conflicting fungi and colonial structures.
It could also be a case where originally the different species were more similar, but once they start functioning as a unified colony, each lineage develops to be highly specialized.
Yes. Yep.
So you've got your red lineage, which used to be a species, but now is just soldiers in this super duper colony, I guess.
Yes.
And the blue ones are aquatic, and they were all just different beetles that had this relationship with this fungi. I think this is extremely cool.
Yep. Well, and it's fun because you could have some of them could be walking around and carrying stuff like the dung beetles, like the purple Pikmin could be very dung beetle-esque, very good at carrying stuff. And then you have others that are different body postures, but all still very beetle shaped. They're all closely related scarab beetles. So they all have generally a similar look to them, just some smaller, some golden colored because they're gold scarabs. So you'd get yellow Pikmin
Yes,
and stuff like that.
absolutely.
Like you could get very similar looking beetles that are all specialized in different ways because scarabs are incredibly diverse and live in all sorts of different habitats and lifestyles.
Yes. This could also, and of course, you could get poison. Insects producing poison is perfectly reasonable. Insects being able to move underwater. Even insects that are more resistant to heat or electrical currents. Like those are all things that are kind of already present among insects. And if you're going to pick an insect to do those with, beetles, that's the way to go.
Yep.
But also thinking, so they have a little hive that they build. I like to imagine now that the onions are just fruit that has been infiltrated by these insect lichen colonies.
Yes, no, absolutely.
But it could also explain why, if we go with the idea that inside the colony there are just normal beetles, and then some of them get the lichen onto them, but to give them the nutrients they need to begin growth, they have to go outside and burrow into the ground.
Yeah.
That provides extra soil nutrients for the plant to grow, and then they can emerge and walk around, and that's why they start out in the ground.
Well, and it could be when they're a grub. Lots of beetles have subterranean larval stages where they dig down as a grub, live underground for sometimes years, and then emerge as an adult beetle. So it could be that, they are planted, their egg is seeded into the ground, they start to grow, but also their host algae comes up to the surface and is photosynthesizing, and then as they develop and once they metamorphose into an adult, the link takes its final form and they come out and pop out as a Pikmin.
I like that a lot. Also, you could pick up on the dirt ant attributes that you were talking about before to explain things like rock Pikmin and ice Pikmin.
Yes, absolutely.
Animal plus fungal attributes are allowing them to, like we've mentioned a whole bunch of times, like bagworms, collecting dirt and pieces from the environment to form a defensive or protective shell around them.
Yes. So I like this a lot.
And some fungi are bioluminescent.
Yes, they are.
So
you are so right.
So you could have certain strains of these Pikmin beetles that are covered in bioluminescent fungi, and those are your glow Pikmin. And actually, you could even have it so that the bioluminescent fungus is only on the body and not on the lower legs, so it looks like they're floating.
Yeah,
because
you just see this
the legs aren't glowing.
Light bulb. And like, we don't know of any fungus that can teleport, but if any organism on our planet can teleport, probably fungi.
That's the one. I was actually going to say
they eat radiation, they can glow. I'm sure we haven't found it yet because it keeps teleporting away.
Right,
it's like
we can't see it. It's quantum entangled with something. I was actually going to suggest that
with the roots of the world tree.
I was going to suggest that that if the fungus can activate and deactivate the glow,
yes, that they just seem to disappear.
Looks like it's teleporting because it then appears somewhere else.
Yep. I like this a lot.
That's a lot of fun. I think that's really... I like it because, number one, this is one of those cases of a spooky thing that we have created that is ridiculous, but it is nowhere near ridiculous as it sounds.
Yes.
The idea of fungus mediating a symbiotic relationship between a host animal and a host plant is something that I'm honestly shocked that doesn't already exist.
Yeah, like...
And realistically, it probably does.
Yes, exactly. Like, this is one of those spooky examples where nothing we've said is individually ridiculous.
Yes. Altogether, it's a lot.
Yeah, we've combined many reasonable things into a somewhat less reasonable whole, but the individual pieces are all things that are all either very reasonable or exist. And so this is a nice one. I like it.
I like it because I think this is the first time we've invoked beetles for Spook-E, which is preposterous. B, it means that this cute-E creature is one of the most disturbing creatures that we've come up with in all of Spook-E, which is very fitting for cutie. I think that's great.
Well, it makes it. This is a somewhat deep tangent Warhammer thing, but in Warhammer, there's a faction that are the Tau, and originally their whole thing was like they're peaceful. They accept all other species in the galaxy. Their motivation is the greater good, to try to spread the most amount of utilitarian and greatest good for the greatest number of beings as they can. That's why they're spreading their empire, is to spread the greater good. And so they were still conquering people, but once you're conquered, you then have like better healthcare, better food, and more individual freedom than you had under the human Imperium, because they're fascists. But fans complained so much that they were such obviously the good guys while all the other factions are ambiguous or evil, that they added a twist that actually the upper echelon of Tau have mind control pheromones, and they are keeping the other castes of Tau in unity and potentially even swaying planets into seeing things their way, and that it is this vast manipulation for world and galactic peace, but not actually potentially of your own free will. This has that feeling of like, listen, you're going to be better off than you ever were alone, but you need to come with us now.
I also love this as an explanation for why in the original Pikmin there were only 3 types of Pikmin, and then every new Pikmin game there's new types of Pikmin. Because
welcome to the family.
And then every now and then one of our beetle Pikmin gets infested by a little jellyfish-like parasite that converts it into a little bug monster.
And then the Pikmin have to hire a bounty hunter.
Like, no, you gotta, no.
Like they've already dealt with spacemen.
Yep.
Olimar, do you know someone? Have you ever interacted with someone on a floating platform before that might be able to handle?
Oliver's like, she was huge. I don't know how.
Massive.
She just come and step on all of them. So she would deal with it so quick. This year's Spook-E has been absolutely delightful.
It's been so much fun.
We created a shelled shipworm-like mollusk that has a chompy head and also some leaves. We created hermit crab-like animals that carry around a house on their back and have adapted mouthparts to shoot projectiles. We created arboreal/aquatic lizard people.
Yes.
And we created an absolute monstrosity of a parasite. I don't think we even decided what type of animal our Metroids were.
Yeah.
I don't think we actually settled on that.
No, we hovered around the barnacle, but we never specified that it for sure was a barnacle.
Some kind of cnidarian or mollusk or something. Honestly, I kind of love that we didn't figure out where they're from.
Yep.
That they are they're just a branch that we don't know how to identify what group of life they belong to.
Yes. Oh, yes. Absolutely.
And now we have our lichen-mediated beetle plant. Symbiotic, really cult. Listeners, As always, please reach out to us and let us know your thoughts. If you have additional ideas or suggestions or alternate directions that we could have gone, join us in the Discord. There is a Spook-E channel and a Speculative Evolution channel where you can go off and share all sorts of ideas. This has been one of our most ridiculous years of Spook-E. As usual, if you are inclined to do some fan art of the creatures that we've been creating, please feel free to share it with us. Let us know how you'd like to be credited if we're going to share it on our social media or on our website. We love seeing fan art, and this year has some of the creatures I am most excited to see what an artist would make of these descriptions.
Absolutely. Also, I thought I just had about the Pikmin. Them being mind controlled also makes sense why they are so okay with being thrown and hurled and yeeted all around.
And also following a leader.
Yes. Yep. Olimar, you monster.
Well, maybe the problem is Olimar is a host.
Oh, no.
Olimar crashed on the planet, and by the time he woke up, it was too late, and now he's part of the colony, and he's just big and strong, and he's great for getting the Pikmin where they need to go.
It's something him and Samus now have in common. It's like, oh, you two are technically space parasite.
You can't fly around Nintendo space and not end up with some sort of ghoulish parasite. That's just how it goes.
Oh man, what does Mario have?
Cappy.
Yes, yep, he got Cappy. He did.
He got Cappy.
He did. Oh man, Link and Zelda are so smart for staying
in the Middle Ages.
Yes, and never developing.
Don't go to space. It's too. Listeners, this is the 5th of our 5 episodes of Spook-E this year. 4 Spook-Es, 1 Cute-E. On November 8th at 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we will have our Spook-E live stream for the year where anybody can join us on YouTube, and we will chit-chat for an hour or so about spooky ideas. You can talk about this year's monsters, last year's monsters, potential future monsters, whatever we come up with. Spook-E, of course, will return next year where we will have a whole other theme, and we will make more Spook-E monsters. Thank you all, as always, for listening. We really appreciate it. Will, I just had a terrible realization.
What?
We just did an entire Nintendo-themed Spook-E series, and we didn't mention Pokemon one time.
Oh, yeah.
That's a real oversight. That's kind of a big... this is embarrassing.
We dropped the Pokeball.
We've already recorded all of these. We
Yes.
can't go back. All right, I have an idea. As it turns out, February 2026 is the 30-year anniversary of the Pokemon franchise.
Oh.
So there is an opportunity for us to make up for this oversight at that time. Listeners, join us in February for Poke-E. See you then.
Thanks for listening to the Common Descent podcast. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and check our WordPress blog for pictures and links after each episode. Huge thanks to our patrons whose support helps keep this podcast running and who get access to bonus goodies on Patreon. The song you're hearing is called On the Origin of Species by Protodome, which we found at ocremix.org. Thanks again for listening. We hope you'll join us next time.